Hi everyone, I'm Nikki and welcome back to the Fundamentals of Print Design. Before I show you how to finalize our brochure and get it ready for print, I want to go through some key elements of content here in our brochure and specifically talk about design decisions. So as you're developing your design, these tips that I give you can be applied to any future project that you have. So we've already designed the brochure and I've walked you through a lot of these steps and decisions, but now I really want to get into the meat of this design and go over everything from the color to the font choices to the placement of our items and really just walk you through the why. So let's get started here. In this lesson, we're going to talk strictly about color. Now I start with color because this is really what's going to make or break your design in regards to the overall look of your finished piece. And a lot of times when it comes to color, people either don't use the colors correctly together. This is where the color wheel comes in so handy to use as a reference for choosing your colors until you get really comfortable picking colors that go well together. Or they just don't use enough in a sense that they complement each other. Now, there are people that strictly design in black and white and make black and white look awesome. And then there are people that design with awesome colors. So really, that is a design choice for you, the designer. For me, I basically will move around from project to project and my color palettes will change accordingly. So I'm not really what you would call a niche color designer where there's one palette that I just absolutely love and use that. So with that, all of my projects will have similar colors, but I will also vary them depending on the project. So when you have this brochure, it's very crucial when you have a print project that is so big on images that you use the colors in your images. And you can see that when we were designing the brochure that I emphasized using colors from the photo. And if you're ever stuck on colors that go together, just look at the content that you have and you'll start seeing some really cool color palettes. So I'm going to use this white space here in the brochure just to show you some options with these two photos right here. So if we take her immediately, you can see that it's pretty simple as far as colors go. You really only have 3 colors that are dominant in this image. So if you were looking for a color palette to use, I'm just going to draw out some squares here to show you how I come up with color palettes. So if I have this blue, and we already have that selected, we have a blue as the main color. So for me, I would use this blue in everything from maybe a headline to big blocks of color throughout the main document. So that blue is going to be just as dominant as it is in this image. And then you notice that we also have some grays going on here. Now, you can pick something from a dark gray, such as this, to a lighter gray, to a really light gray, and there's even some black there. So you can see that not only do you have your solid color, but you can have versions and tones and values of that color. But for me, if I was going to pick 3 main colors to work with, and that's usually what I always start out with, 3 main colors: a dominant color, a complementary color that's more neutral, and then a highlight color. And then from there, you can use different values of those colors to create more visual interest if you want to. And I'll explain that in just a second of how we use that in this brochure. But I'm going to use a dark gray as that secondary color. And then this, as you can see, the salmon color we used as a highlight color. Used it very minimally throughout the design. And it's that bright color that really is a nice highlight. And the point of a highlight is that it is different from your other 2 colors. So it really pops off against those other 2. Now, the trick here is that if you notice that blue and that gray, very cool colors. So for me, the highlight color, naturally, the first thing I would choose would be a warm color. And whenever you're using blues, using an orange, if you remember from the color wheel, is a complement to that. So immediately you're going to have something that will look just right in your design. And it's up to you what version of orange you're going to use. Here we went with more of a salmon color, but if you wanted to go with more of an orange or a gold, that works too. And I can quickly show you how that looks on this cover if I were to mess around with some different oranges, and yellow works as well. But if we had just more of an orange, see, anything in that complementary color range of orange is going to look just fine. So this is a great way, once you have your design, to go back through and make sure there isn't a better color option for you. And there really is no right answer to this, because this color, this really nice gold, works, but then so does the original salmon color that we used. So in the end, it's just going to be a decision that you have to make for your project. So now that you have your 3 main colors, that is what you're going to use throughout the rest of your design. And you find ways to use your dominant color, such as this blue here, and then we used it on the inside as well, a big giant blue here, highlighted some text with the blue here, another way to make that pop, and then of course our big block quote was blue. And then we offset that blue with a gray for the main text that we have here, and you can see that we vary it from light to dark based on the lighter version of the font and the darker, bolder. But we also used white. White's a good like a third color that you can throw in there that doesn't really add to a distraction of your colors. So really you would have blue, gray, salmon, and then white would be a color that we have pretty dominant throughout. So that is how you can use those 3 colors throughout a layout, and it helps you form a palette. Now, as you can see here, I just took this image to start with and it worked. But you can see that we have some great colors in this image that would easily work as well. For example, we can change that blue really quick to a forest green. And I will do that so you can see if we take that. Ooh, that's a nice color too. See, and sometimes just dragging these sliders around are going to give you some awesome happy accidents of color. So I'm just matching this green up. And so you can immediately see that this salmon color no longer works quite as well. So you can follow more into a yellow, an orangey color on his shirt, or you can do another cooler color such as blue to pop off. You can even use a pink to pop off. Remember, the complement of green is going to be a red, but you run that risk of looking a little holiday-ish if you go for straight red. See? So immediately you can play with the colors in your images and get awesome color palettes pretty quickly for your project. And this is a great way to save you some time and some worry of what to do in regards to your colors. So to recap, just remember that you want to use 3 colors to start with. If you add more than that, it just gets really busy, and you need to have a really good reason for using more than 3 colors. And obviously these rules can be broken, so that's why I say as long as you have a reason for it, go for it. But just as a standard, start with 3. You have your main dominant color that you pull from an image in your document. Then you go and pick a secondary color that goes very well with that original dominant color, but maybe not as bright, maybe not as colorful. So you can complement that with a nice neutral like we did with the gray. And then you go and find a highlight color that is going to make those colors stand out. That highlight color is only going to be used very minimally in your document. It's not going to have equal real estate on your document like your first 2 colors. And then you can have a neutral such as a white or a black in there as well that you can use as dominant for your backgrounds, or maybe to use in your text to pop that off your other colors. So that is a look into how to choose colors for your document. And remember, it doesn't have to just apply to this brochure. Those tips can be used for any project that you have in the future where you need to pick some colors out. So in the next lesson, we're going to dive right into typography, talk a little bit about fonts and how to use those in your document, and how to make a complementary flow of text based on your font choice. So thank you so much for watching.